They say intelligence is power. That knowledge is the key to freedom. But what if intelligence, true, unfiltered intelligence, was a curse instead of a gift? What if the very thing that makes you capable of understanding the world is the same thing that isolates you from it? Think about this for a moment. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation where no one seems to see what you see? Where the room echoes with surface-level chatter, but you're stuck in the depths of something much deeper, something no one else notices? If so, you already know what it feels like to be an outsider. Throughout history, the greatest thinkers, Nietzsche, Socrates, Galileo, Schopenhauer, were not revered in their time. They were ridiculed, feared, even persecuted. Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth. Galileo was condemned as a heretic for stating that the earth revolved around the sun. Friedrich Nietzsche was dismissed as insane before his ideas reshaped modern thought. And Arthur Schopenhauer? He believed that high intelligence was not a gift, but a burden. That the more an individual understands reality, the more isolated they become from society. But why? Why does intelligence, something we claim to admire, actually make people uncomfortable? Why are the most intelligent individuals feared rather than followed? And here's the real question you need to ask yourself. Could you be one of them? Because if you've ever felt misunderstood, if you've ever struggled to connect with the world because you see things differently, you might be standing at the edge of a brutal realization. You don't fit in, not because something is wrong with you, but because society isn't built for minds like yours. But before we go deeper, let's first uncover a disturbing truth, one that explains why intelligence has always been seen as dangerous, and why those who think for themselves are often the first to be cast aside. Society thrives on order, on predictability, on a shared reality that keeps everyone moving in the same direction. But what happens when someone questions that reality? What happens when a person sees through the illusions, through the empty traditions, the mindless entertainment, the unquestioned beliefs that hold society together? Schopenhauer believed that intelligence wasn't just about solving problems or memorizing facts. It was about perception, about seeing the world not as it appears, but as it truly is. And that is a dangerous thing, because most people don't want to see reality. Most people don't want to question why they wake up every morning to work jobs they hate, why they follow traditions they don't understand, why they obey rules they never agreed to. For the average person, it's easier to follow than to think, to conform rather than question. And this is where intelligent individuals become a problem. Throughout history, those who challenged the status quo were not celebrated. They were silenced. The church silenced Galileo because his discoveries threatened religious authority. Governments labeled independent thinkers as dissidents because they questioned power. Even in modern times, whistleblowers, visionaries, and rebels are often attacked, not because they are wrong, but because they disrupt the illusion. But here's the terrifying part. It's not just those in power who fear intelligence. Ordinary people do too. Why? Because intelligence forces them to confront uncomfortable truths. Think about the last time you pointed out something obvious, something people refused to acknowledge. Maybe it was the hypocrisy of a system, the flaws in someone's logic. the illusion behind a comforting belief. How did they react? Did they listen? Or did they resist, becoming defensive, dismissive, even hostile? Schopenhauer described this as willful ignorance, the human tendency to reject truths that disrupt our sense of stability. And this is why intelligence isolates people. The more you see, the more you realize how blind the world really is. But here's where it gets even worse. It's not just that intelligent people see reality. It's that they feel it more deeply. They feel the weight of existence, the absurdity of human behavior, the inevitability of suffering. While others distract themselves with shallow entertainment, intelligent minds are left grappling with the raw truth of life. And this creates a profound loneliness. Because how do you connect with people when their world is built on illusions you can't unsee? How do you share your thoughts when the moment you speak, people look at you like you're insane? How do you live among those who fear the very thing that defines you? This is the curse of intelligence. But it gets even darker. Because the world doesn't just ignore intelligent people, it actively pushes them away. Why? Because intelligence is a mirror. And most people don't like what they see. Society doesn't just fear intelligent people, it punishes them. It labels them as outsiders. It isolates them. And in some cases, it even destroys them. Look at history. Socrates was sentenced to death, not for committing any crime, but for making people think. Van Gogh died in obscurity, unrecognized, because his vision was too ahead of his time. Nikola Tesla died penniless, despite revolutionizing modern electricity. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the greatest philosophical minds, was ridiculed and dismissed before he lost his sanity. This is the pattern. Society doesn't reward deep thinkers. It fears them. But why? Because intelligence is disruptive. It doesn't fit neatly into the system. It questions authority, challenges norms, and forces people to confront things they would rather ignore. Think about the world we live in today. People don't want to reflect on uncomfortable truths. They want entertainment, distraction, validation. They want the comfort of certainty, even if it's built on lies. But intelligence is like a crack in the illusion. It threatens the very foundation of society. This is why deeply intelligent individuals often feel like they don't belong. They walk into a crowded room and immediately feel alone. They speak their mind and are met with blank stares. They see patterns, hypocrisies, and hidden motives that others ignore. And the worst part? They can't turn it off. They can't unsee the absurdity of human behavior. They can't force themselves to be satisfied with shallow conversations. They can't pretend that life is simple when they know it isn't. And so, they are cast out, not with physical chains, but with social rejection. They are labeled as weird, as arrogant, as out of touch. But this isn't just about personal isolation, because when intelligent people are excluded, society itself suffers. Imagine a world where Galileo had been allowed to explore freely, where Nikola Tesla had been supported instead of exploited, where Nietzsche's ideas were embraced instead of dismissed. How much progress has been lost simply because intelligence was seen as a threat? This is the tragedy. Society needs intelligent minds. It needs those who question, who think, who see, beyond the surface. But at the same time, it fears them. It fights them. It isolates them until they either conform or disappear. So what happens next? How can those who see the world differently survive in a world that doesn't understand them? This is where we must turn to breaking free and the path forward for those who refuse to be trapped. If you are deeply intelligent, you have two choices. 1. Suppress your intelligence, conform, and live in comfortable ignorance. 2. Embrace your intelligence, face the isolation, and carve your own path. Most choose the first option. They dull their minds with distractions. They force themselves to laugh at shallow jokes, nod along with ideas they don't believe in, and pretend to be normal. But deep down, they feel like imposters. They feel restless, trapped in a world that doesn't speak their language. So, what about the second path? It's harder, much harder, but it's the only way to truly live. Schopenhauer, one of the most radical thinkers in history, believed that true intelligence is a curse and a gift. Yes, it makes life harder. Yes, it isolates you. But if you understand how to navigate this reality, intelligence can become your greatest weapon. So how do you break free? 1. Accept that you will never fit in. This is the most painful truth, but once you accept it, everything changes. You're not meant to fit in. You are not meant to be one of them. You are wired differently, and that is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength. The moment you stop seeking approval, you become untouchable. You no longer waste energy trying to explain yourself to those who will never understand. You stop feeling guilty for being different. You stop fighting battles that don't matter. Instead, you focus on what truly matters. 2. Master the art of strategic disguise. Schopenhauer believed that wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Not everyone is ready for deep truths. Not everyone wants to think. Not everyone is capable of understanding your perspective. So don't waste your breath. You don't have to reveal everything to everyone. You don't have to correct every ignorant statement you hear. Sometimes, silence is power. Speak when it serves you. Blend in when necessary. Save your true thoughts for those who deserve them. 3. Build your own world. Society will never build a place for you, so you must build it yourself. Find your tribe, people who think like you, who challenge you, who see the world as you do. Create your own systems, your own rules, your own way of living. Reject the idea that you need validation from the masses. You don't. Many of history's greatest minds were not celebrated in their time. They were outcasts, misunderstood, ridiculed. But they kept going. They wrote their books, they created their inventions, they pursued their ideas, even when the world ignored them. And eventually, the world caught up. 4. Turn isolation into power. Most people are afraid to be alone. They need constant noise, constant validation, constant distraction. But you are different. Your mind is your greatest asset. Train it. Use your solitude to think deeply, to create, to master your craft. While others waste time, you sharpen your mind. While they seek approval, you build something real. And when the time comes, you will be unstoppable. 5. Become the exception. Society fears intelligent people. But every now and then, someone breaks through. Someone who refuses to be crushed by the system. Someone who bends reality to their will. Someone who is so undeniable that the world has to listen. That someone could be you. If you stop waiting for permission, if you stop trying to fit in, if you embrace your mind instead of running from it. Yes, intelligence makes life harder, but it also makes life limitless. So the question is, will you suppress your potential to be accepted? Or will you rise above and become something greater? Because in the end, the world doesn't change for those who conform. It changes for those who dare to be different. There comes a moment, maybe you've felt it before, where everything shifts. You realize that the world you've been trying to fit into was never designed for you. The endless small talk, the social rituals, the obsession with appearances. It was all a game meant to keep people distracted, docile, and afraid of standing out. And for a long time, you tried to play along. You toned yourself down. You laughed at jokes that weren't funny. You pretended to be interested in conversations that drained your soul. But now, something inside you has changed. You see through it. You see how the masses are controlled by shallow pleasures. You see how intelligence is ridiculed because it threatens the system. You see how the world fears those who think differently because they cannot be controlled. And in that moment, you make a choice. No more pretending. No more waiting for approval. No more apologizing for who you are. This is your awakening. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood. You are here to break free. Schopenhauer once said, "The higher the intellect, the greater the need for solitude." Because only in solitude can you finally hear yourself think. Only in solitude can you break free from the noise. Only in solitude can you become what you were meant to be. But here's the paradox. Once you fully embrace your intelligence, once you stop seeking approval, once you become truly independent, the world starts to take notice. The same people who dismissed you start to listen. The same society that rejected you starts to admire you. The same world that feared you starts to follow you. Because deep down, even those who once mocked intelligence crave guidance. They are lost. They are trapped in the illusion. And when they see someone who has broken free, they cannot look away. This is why the greatest minds in history were first ridiculed, then worshipped. Socrates was sentenced to death. Now he is called a genius. Nietzsche was dismissed as insane. Now his words shape the modern world. Schopenhauer was ignored in his lifetime. Now he is quoted by the most powerful thinkers. And now the question is, will you join them? Will you accept the loneliness, the struggle, the misunderstanding, knowing that it will make you unbreakable? Will you walk away from the masses and carve your own path, knowing that only the few who matter will understand? Or will you shrink back into the shadows, afraid of what might happen if you embrace who you truly are? The choice is yours. But remember this: the intelligent have always been feared. But in the end, They are the ones who change the world.